Urfin just is a supposed skinny man who dreams of becoming the king of the world of Oz, despite being considered a farce by all the inhabitants. He has 2 faithful squires. Every morning before sunrise, a bear wakes him up so that Urfin can use his great power before his Viking army, bringing light to that land. In exchange for the sunlight that the wizard claims provides him, he asks the soldiers to help attack the Emerald City so that he can steal the silver shoes. However, his subjects completely ignore him and refuse to participate. As he cannot count on the support of those peasants, Urfin asks Barry Clown to help him achieve his goal. The bear suggests that his master steal the magician's book to convince his army to follow his orders. So, the Harmon trio plans to take possession of that book and choose a strategic day to invade the Emerald City. A year ago, these people managed to defeat Urfin with Dorothy's help. Then, Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion built a large monument in honor of the girl. The most significant feature of this statue is that it can move and even dance, as all its movements are mechanically controlled. During the celebration, Barry Clown uses a disguise to walk through the streets unnoticed. At the first opportunity they find, they invade the statue. The duo is convinced that this is the new hiding place of the magic book. They interrogate Rough Baland to reveal the whereabouts of that valuable item. Fearing that the villains might harm him, the man decides to reveal the true location of the book. However, the compartment is locked with numerous padlocks. But all this caution is not enough to prevent the duo from entering the hiding place. After bending the bars of the cage, Bear manages to steal the book. Meanwhile, in the real world, a teenager in love pedals to Dorothy's house with the aim of confessing his feelings for the girl. The boy asks for advice from an app he created and gathers the courage to approach the girl. At that moment, Dorothy is in her room painting her nails and listening to music. With her dog beside her, the young woman dances and has fun as if she were on stage, until she notices Tim's presence. Meeting a little boy who hands her a gift he prepared, she goes to get a vase so that Dorothy can put the flowers she won in it. However, his plan doesn't go as expected, and Tim's small action ends up causing a big disaster. Familiarizing himself with his surroundings, he glances into the mirror while trying to compose himself. At this point, he notices a pair of silver shoes shining on the shelf. Intrigued, he decides to pick them up, curious to understand the source of their unusual gleam. The boy begins to handle the shoes and inadvertently creates a portal that connects 2 worlds. Suddenly, everything around him starts to be drawn into the portal, including Toto. As Dorothy enters the room and realizes what's happening, she rushes toward the swirling vortex and is also transported to the other side. In Urfin's world, he finally manages to lay his hands on the magic book. However, he realizes that he must wear the silver shoes. So, Urfin decides to use the face of the Guardian to manipulate his army, convincing them to invade the Emerald City under the pretext that it's the magic book's will. Nevertheless, he is utterly disregarded and becomes a laughingstock among his own soldiers. All of a sudden, a pair of silver shoes appears in his hands. Urfin tries to seize them, but before he can, the book defends itself, obliged to protect its master. At that moment, Urfin and the bear are hurled into the forest. Tim is appointed as the new owner of the book since he wears the silver shoes. Unable to communicate with a Viking soldier, the boy relies on his app to comprehend their language. Upon discovering their desire for rain, he harnesses the magic book's powers to fulfill their wish, bringing great joy to the soldiers. Meanwhile, in the Emerald City, the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Cowardly Lion interrogate witnesses in an attempt to uncover the thieves who stole a book. After several iterations of sketches, they finally produce an accurate depiction of the criminals. The Scarecrow reveals that Urfin's servants are responsible for the theft. A few kilometers away, a lonely ogre is painting his den when strange objects start falling on his head. Toto appears and accidentally lands face first into a paint can. The ogre, named Algol, rescues Toto and saves the girl's life by preventing her from a potentially fatal fall. Despite being saved, the girl fears that the ogre wants to harm Toto and prepares to defend herself with a sharp wooden object. However, she changes her mind upon realizing that the ogre is simply helping the dog. After learning that Algol is a vegetarian, the girl becomes more at ease and reveals that she is searching for a boy named Tim. In an effort to assist her in finding the boy, the ogre attracts the attention of a crow and claims to have captured a fairy in the forest that he intends to cook. Upon seeing Dora, the bird immediately recognizes her and flies away to seek help. As the crow departs, the ogre reveals that this is the swiftest way to relay information to Tim. Once Tim learns that Dorothy is being held captive, he will set out to rescue her, reuniting the pair. After hours of relentless rain, the peasants implore Tim to alter the weather once more and bring about snow. Utilizing the magic book's powers again, He grants their request. Shortly thereafter, Tim encounters Barry Clown, who manages to persuade him to hand over the silver shoes. Barry promises to help Tim return home. However, the snow outside the house hampers Tim's movement. Seizing this opportunity, Barry successfully delivers the shoes to Urfin before being apprehended. As Tim searches for the doll, the book revels in its newfound freedom from any master's control. It prompts Tim to repeat a sentence with it, inadvertently causing the book to vanish in an instant. Determined not to let the object escape again, Urfin pursues it. Their chase leads them to a dark and somber place. The magician becomes ensnared by twisted branches resembling human hands. However, he soon receives a pair of special glasses that allow him to perceive a parallel reality. Minutes later, news of Dorothy's capture by the ogre reaches the ears of the three amigos. Meanwhile, Tim sits on a large rock, lamenting his deception. Suddenly, three natives appear and capture him. On the same day, Tim is tied to a tower, observing the peasants constructing a bonfire. Without control over the book, Tim is unable to halt the snow. As the bonfire is prepared, the raven arrives with crucial information. Tim is relieved to learn that Dorothy is also in Urfin's world. Before he can go after her, the Vikings ensnare him in a basket and transport him to the ogre's lair. Climbing a lengthy staircase, Urfin finally reaches the castle's entrance. Upon entering, he's met with the sight of a beautiful throne situated at the center of the room. At that moment, a woman observes and realizes that the magic book also possesses a human form. After fulfilling his long-held dream, Urfin dons the crown and takes his place on the throne. Overwhelmed with joy, he comes to realize that he's now the great king of that realm. Meanwhile, Barry Clown remains in the forest, awaiting his master's return. The duo constructs a shelter and builds a fire underneath. However, both are suddenly pulled into the ground. They reappear at Urfin's castle, equipped with the same glasses the magician is using. Proudly discovering that their master has become the king of the world of Oz, they celebrate. Clown removes his glasses and unveils the truth about the place. He witnesses the woman preparing a drink for Urfin and recognizes the liquid as poison. In an attempt to save his master, Clown knocks the cup away and urges Urfin to remove his glasses. Urfin faces the harsh reality and becomes frantic as he realizes the grim nature of the place. The woman responds by sending twisted twigs to attack Urfin and his subjects. Utilizing his silver shoe, Urfin manages to repel the attack. In that moment, the woman proposes an agreement, suggesting that she will grant his greatest wish if he hands over the book to her. While en route to the ogre's tower, Tim frees himself from his bindings in the basket and escapes by destroying its bottom. He rushes through the forest to find Dorothy but ends up having an accident. After the fall, he encounters two saber-toothed tigers. Tim defends himself by wielding a piece of wood, prompting the tigers to wonder what just occurred. Eventually, they become friends with Tim. Not knowing the way to the ogre's tower, Tim seeks assistance from the cats. One of the cats offers to carry him on its back. Back at the tower, the ogre is in a playful mood and engages in chess games. However, Dorothy grows impatient and plans to leave to search for her friend. It's at this moment that the trio realizes they're under attack, as a barrage of stones shatters through the glass window. The ogre celebrates the success of his plan. While the Scarecrow dispatches rescue teams to bring down the tower, the ogre unexpectedly begins dancing behind the fortress walls. Amidst his choreography and acrobatics, he manages to prevent Dorothy and Toto from being struck, thwarting the intended attack. Among them, the crow suddenly appears and attacks the ogre. However, upon realizing that Dorothy is unharmed, the crow releases the ogre and informs them that he found the thief who stole the silver shoes. Soldiers arrive with a basket in hand, but they soon realize that Tim managed to escape during the journey. Dorothy decides to embark on a balloon trip with the goal of finding him. When he hears Dorothy's voice, Tim attempts to get her attention, but his efforts are in vain. As he descends a slope, he slips and has an accident, colliding with a tree. He encounters a temperamental squirrel, and it takes him to the Queen's castle. By placing an acorn in the opening of an oak tree, the palace doors open for him. The Queen aids him in his desire to return home. She hands Tim a whistle, explaining that he only needs to blow it 3 times to return to Earth. However, he refuses to abandon Dorothy and opts to continue his journey to find her. Suddenly, they seem to be accompanied by a herd of hybrid boars. The Viking soldiers surround their path, and the wizard commands his creatures to attack. Tim manages to escape the war zone and is reunited with Dorothy. The Scarecrow lowers the balloon so Tim can board. Upon realizing Dorothy's danger, Tim urges them to rise again. The balloon becomes ensnared on a tree branch. The wizard orders the creatures to eliminate Dorothy, prompting Tim to risk his own life to save her. When Dorothy is feeling uncertain, Tim gets stung, causing his body to disappear. He's transported to the same place the magician was, and his vision distorts when he dons the glasses. However, at that moment, the Queen appears to Tim and manages to alert him to Dorothy's peril. Concerned for Dorothy, Tim removes his glasses and returns to reality. Swiftly climbing the floating rocks, he escapes that place through a portal created by the Queen. In the meantime, Urfin initiates an attack on the Emerald City. His monsters manage to breach the city, but the residents employ the statue built in honor of Dorothy to repel the boars outside the walls. The wizard resorts to other tactics to win the war, opting to flood the village by opening the floodgates of the Emerald Dam. At this juncture, Dorothy is already disheartened and feels hopeless, believing Tim to be lost. However, when Tim manages to return to the city, she's relieved and renews her determination to fight for the people. At that moment, the crow intervenes and disrupts Urfin's plans. The crow informs them that the magician has just opened the dam, and within minutes, the city will be submerged underwater. To prevent this catastrophe, Tim and his team decide to take action. They come up with the idea of using the statue as a shield to defeat Urfin and his wild boars. Tim takes control of Dorothy's robot and heads to the dam to assess the situation. The creatures start retreating, but a few remain to attack. These creatures are compelled to obey orders, and they attempt to knock Tim down with their tails. However, they are once again defeated and choose to flee. During their escape, some stones slide onto the path, causing the statue to fall. Urfin is almost crushed but manages to save himself. Taking advantage of the distraction, he flees and rushes to the command tower. The magician goes after him, leading his troop to ensure Tim cannot escape this time. After closing the floodgates, Tim is captured and faces imminent danger. Just as the situation seems dire, Tim's phone begins to ring. Curious, Urfin picks up the device and discovers an application created by the inventive boy. Seeing an opportunity to distract the wizard and help his friend escape, Tim's robot rabbit suggests that the second prophecy indicates that the true king of the world of Oz will have a red stain on the soles of his feet. Rabbit convinces Urfin to remove his silver shoes to confirm if Tim is indeed the one mentioned in the prophecy. Falling for the ruse, Urfin removes his shoes, allowing Tim to break free and retrieve the shoes. As he attempts to flee, Tim finds himself surrounded by wild boars. In an attempt to steal the items, one of the creatures mysteriously vanishes. Tim discovers that the silver shoes have the power to eliminate the creatures. He activates the shoes, causing the monsters to scatter. Tim reclaims his cell phone from Urfin's grasp. Now that he has saved the Emerald City and retrieved the magic shoes, Tim expresses gratitude to his friend for the assistance. The victory is finally celebrated alongside Dorothy. On that night, the couple bids farewell to all their friends before returning to their world along with Toto. The Emerald City is now secure. Using her silver shoes, Dorothy transports them back to Earth. The beautiful farewell party thrown by their friends touches Dorothy deeply. Moments later, the trio finds themselves back at Dorothy's house, and Tim helps her clean up the mess that had accumulated in her room. With the world of Oz now protected, the story concludes. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more interesting movies.